Man United have just beaten Nottingham Forest 2-0 to go 3 points ahead of Newcastle in 4th place. I can't overstate how important these 3 points are on a weekend where Tottenham and Newcastle both bottled it and lost games. We're now 3 points ahead of Newcastle, 6 points ahead of Tottenham with a game in hand, and 9 points ahead of Villa with a game in hand as well. So Erik ten Hag, the coaching staff, and the players deserve massive credit for putting in a good performance and avoiding a potential banana skin in the top 4 race. But we're here today to talk about 2 players that give me hope for a positive end to the season, despite missing the likes of Varane, Martinez, Shaw, and Rashford to injuries of various lengths. And Antony might be the more obvious one of those 2 players because he can contribute directly to goals and assists as he did today with this goal and assist. But Eriksen provides something different. With him in the team at the same time as Bruno, we just see so much more fluidity in possession that I was drooling all over my keyboard. And speaking of drooling all over my keyboard, I was doing that live today in our tactical watch along on the channel, so go check that out. For those of you that are interested, I'll be doing these moving forward every weekend, so please come say hi next Sunday for the FA Cup semi-final against Brighton. A quick shout out to some of the homies that were there the whole time: Fire Whiskey, Hitesh, Emil, Thomas, Rishi, Chinmoy, Giblix, Everestus, Rajat, and Matt Underwood. Come join me next time to have some fun and get a shout out in one of these videos. And don't forget to drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel to never miss out on content just like this. So in the build up to the game, we were right to have massive concerns about our backline because of injuries to 3 out of our starting back 4 in Shaw, Varane, and Martinez. And also our backup left back in Malacia, who apparently picked up a knee injury before this game. So we had to start Maguire and Lindelof and play Dalot at left back. And to make things worse, Sabitzer actually picked up an injury in the warm-up, which meant that Eriksen had to start in his place in the midfield. So we started with the team as it appears on the screen here in a 4-2-3-1, but played in 2 or 3 different formations, starting with the 3-3-1-3 that look like this. In this shape, the front 3 played as usual, with Martial trying to take up spaces in between the 3-4 center backs, and Bruno was returned to his original free role in behind the front 3, and he was playing a lot more advanced today, linking up with Martial, Antony, Sancho, Dalot, and Wan-Bissaka, just being a overall menace to the Forest defense and midfield, because he was a nightmare to mark, as he was the extra man that created overloads in these small pockets, whether it's in between the defense and midfield or in between the defenders itself. Then you had Dalot and Wan-Bissaka next to Casemiro in midfield, and these guys were playing more narrow than I've ever seen for a Ten Hag side. Their goal was to overload the midfield and provide a passing option in front of Danilo and Freuler so that Eriksen, Maguire, or Lindelof could find them in these channels, which would either pull Johnson and Gibbs-White more narrow and make more space for the passes out to the wingers on the sides, or one of Danilo or Freuler would have to step out of their position to intercept this pass, creating more room for Bruno, Antony, and Martial on this side, or if Freuler stepped out, there'd be more room for Dalot, Sancho, and Eriksen on this side. So it was really this tactic by Ten Hag of deploying the fullbacks very narrow in midfield that helped us have 68% possession in this game. Then in this formation, Eriksen was playing in the deeper role from the left-hand side, really dictating the play. He was playing it into the fullbacks in midfield like we discussed over here. He was also playing it to the wingers and occasionally playing it over the top into either Martial or Fernandes. And what Eriksen provides to the team is very, very underrated because it doesn't really pop out on any stat sheet. He allows Bruno to play much further forward, where he can focus on getting at the end of passes in the final third instead of trying to pick up the ball in the middle third or the defensive third from the defenders. And while Eriksen was missing, Bruno was forced to play in the defensive and middle third most of the time, which meant that he could create chances from deep, but he couldn't play those intricate passes in the final third in and around the box or get shots off on goal. And he really should have had a goal today with the 5 shots with 3 on target that he got, none of which is possible without Eriksen in the team. And as always, I have some clips here to show you exactly what I'm talking about. We start with Bruno playing the ball back to Aaron Wan-Bissaka at right back, and you can already kind of see Eriksen waving for the ball in space. And I want you guys to ask yourself why he has this much space in the middle. It's because Bruno in that advanced role is pulling the Forest midfielders out wide with him, which basically creates this space for Eriksen, who in turn, with his ability to dictate play from deep, frees up Bruno to play further forward. So these guys very much work together to be the 2 most dangerous United players in possession, and you guys will see when we play against better teams, they'll try to press these two guys out of the game, and United will not be able to make anything happen in possession. As we play along, you can see Eriksen is waving for the ball, and notice how Bruno is making a run in behind into this area here. As Eriksen receives the ball, he knows exactly what Bruno's trying to do and is ready to play the ball into him first time. As Bruno receives the ball in space, he plays a first time pass into Sancho on the left wing, but unfortunately Sancho is a yard or two too slow and he can't really get on the end of it. If it's Rashford in this situation, he probably scores that goal. But like I said, Bruno's only able to be in this position in the first place because Eriksen is over here and he can actually find him there. Because without Eriksen, Bruno's over here and maybe it's Weghorst or Antony or Fred or McTominay in this area, and we know that they just don't have the quality to put the ball into the box and create a chance. Now let's see another quick example of Eriksen's brilliance with our next clip. We start with Wan-Bissaka playing another pass into Eriksen, this time from a more advanced position on the right wing. As soon as Eriksen receives it, he takes one touch to control the ball and the second touch to pass it into Bruno. And even though this pass seems very simple, Fred probably takes 3 touches to recover from his first poor touch before passing it to Bruno by the time the Forest players crowd him out. And McTominay probably chooses the wrong pass or puts the wrong weight on the pass, and maybe even Casemiro makes a mistake here. But Bruno and Eriksen are probably the 2 only players in our team that read the game well enough to know exactly where the teammates are before the pass is played and have that technical ability to execute the pass more than 90% of the time. So the pass to Bruno ends up getting intercepted as a Forest midfielder steps out of their position, but the ball goes straight back into Eriksen over here. And notice how Dalot is running off screen onto the left wing here because Eriksen is about to find him in a few seconds. So Eriksen takes a touch to control the ball and plays a world-class ground pass to Dalot on the left wing with his second touch. And you might think I'm over-egging the pudding a little bit here by describing this pass as world-class, but the weight behind this ball and its accuracy and the way it just skips across the grass is just elite. And you can see here the way it arrives at Dalot's feet as well. He can just cushion it into space over here and then put the cross in with his left foot, as you'll see over here. And that's exactly what he does, but the Forest player unfortunately is able to block the cross and it goes out of play for a corner. But I mean, that pass from Eriksen, Ten Hag and the coaching staff must just be drooling over the idea of having a player like him, because the way he can just execute difficult passes with ease is just amazing. And that allows him to dictate the play the way he wants to. And I'm very serious when I say this. Eriksen might be our 2nd or 3rd most important player till the end of this season because he makes Bruno even better than he has been over the last 3 months. He frees Bruno to play in those more attacking areas like we're talking about. The way they can both interchange positions from the defensive third to the middle third to the final third is very difficult to mark for any defense. And with that punchy passing of Martinez missing from our back line, Eriksen can do that for us while he's gone without having to sacrifice Bruno from the final third. Next, we're going to talk about Antony's growth in this team, and I think over the last month he has taken massive strides as a core contributor because he's giving the ball away less often by over-dribbling it. He's passing the ball at the right time and taking more calculated risks in the final third, and he's showing that he indeed has a right foot. And again, I have some clips here to show you his positive impact. We start with Wan-Bissaka passing it out to Antony in the wide space here, and pay attention to Bruno at the edge of the box as he's available to create that overload by combining with these two. And straight away we see why Antony is so dangerous, because as he receives the ball, look at the way he dribbles and draws out the 2 Forest players towards him. And in fact, as Wan-Bissaka drops into this space here, because these 2 are already occupied with Antony, Freuler leaves his position from here to try to cover Wan-Bissaka. And that split-second mistake from Freuler creates the space for Bruno in behind, who can get to the byline. And Antony reads this move perfectly to find Bruno with a reverse pass from this area right there, and Bruno is able to get to the byline and fire a cross across the 6-yard box, which is unfortunately saved by Navas. But the deflection lands to Sancho inside the box over here, and for some reason that's known to nobody but Sancho, he fires it straight and low into the Forest defender instead of trying to deposit high into the net. But anyways, we're here to discuss Antony, and his involvement was sublime with that reverse pass to Bruno that actually started this move in the first place. Next, let's look at Antony's assist for Dalot in the second half, because that was another example of Antony passing the ball to create things for a teammate rather than shooting from the edge of the box. We start with Casemiro laying the ball off to Dalot in midfield, who plays out a first-time pass into Bruno up ahead. As Bruno receives the ball, he plays it straight out to Antony on the right-hand side, and we are about to see him do a few nice things on the ball. Number one, he sees the space in between these two midfielders and attacks it immediately. And pay attention to Weghorst's run over here to try to get into this space as we play along. So Antony dribbles forward further and Weghorst makes that run that we just talked about, but Antony uses it as a decoy to actually cut further inside, which Weghorst is not happy about, as you can see over here. But then Antony kind of starts moving diagonally to get more central, which pulls out Niakate from his position over here, and Weghorst making that decoy run in this area keeps Lodi from running into this space over here. So all of this combined gives Antony the perfect opportunity to play that reverse pass through this channel here between these two Forest players into the on-rushing Dalot. And Antony executes that pass perfectly, which gives Dalot time to get onto the ball, take a touch, and curl it past the goalkeeper into the net. Again, Antony's unselfishness pays dividends as it creates the all-important second goal for United. And without Antony in the team today, we either draw that game or lose it to an unlucky goal from Forest. I think people were starting to get really frustrated with Antony over-dribbling and doing useless skills, but I think that play was a perfect example of why over-dribbling can be a strength and not a weakness. He consistently draws double teams, whether it's in wide areas or at the edge of the box, which frees up room for other players around him, like we just saw with Weghorst and Dalot, and he has the eye to find these passes with whether it's a reverse pass or it's a cross to the back post. He has those technical abilities to get the job done. And just like Eriksen, Antony coming into form while Rashford is out due to injury is exactly what this team needs. If he can contribute, say 6 or 7 or 8 goals in terms of goals and assists in all competitions till the end of the season, I think we have 10 or 15 games if we go the length in all competitions, we can easily win 2 more trophies and get top 4. In closing thoughts, we've just had a week where 4 crucial first team players got injured and we gave up a 2-goal lead in an important European game out of nowhere. And let's be honest, we were all feeling a little down thinking about a poor end to a great first season for Ten Hag. But I saw some great things today from these 2 players in particular that gives me hope. Hope that Ten Hag can win the FA Cup and the Europa League, and hope that this team can finish in the top 4 as well. Because let's all be honest here, Ten Hag is doing all of this in spite of the Glazers, and he deserves all of the accolades that are coming his way at the end of a successful first season. Let me know who your man of the match was in the comments down below, and also, do you think we can beat Brighton next week and get into the FA Cup finals? Do you think we can beat Sevilla in midweek and get into the semifinals of the Europa League? Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.